What's up? What's up, people? Welcome to another episode of Talking Reacher. This is the big one, people. This is the big one. My name is Adam Vale, senior editor over at the Koalition.com.
My name is Lawrence, aka a punk with toys on all the social media. And look, I left the lights on so you guys can see what a degenerate I am with all the toys.
Hey, don't say that. Don't say that. You're throwing shame on all us people that collect.
I'm a huge one, so I can say.
Yeah, that is.
But hey, that's how degeneration started, by Shawn Michaels calling himself a degenerate.
Oh, well, here we are, people. We made it. This is it. This is season 3's finale, titled Unfinished Business. This was a banger of an episode. But real quick, housekeeping. Thanks again for all the subs, the follows, the views. It's all been great. The comments. Got some good comments, got some other comments, questioning stuff. Fine, perfectly fine, because that's what this is about. We all have our own view of how we see this show in particular. Some people feel, you criticize too much, you guys nitpick, and it's like, okay, that's fair. And then there's others that nitpick themselves. We had former military officers jumping in. Why are they using these weapons? You should use these weapons. This and that.
Yeah, and let's just kind of clear it. Like we said from the beginning, like when we started watching it, we're really nitpicking things. And if it sounds like we don't like the show, but the truth is, when you're sitting down and you're writing pages of notes, you're gonna pick that stuff up because that's what we do. I do toy reviews. I go over things pretty detailed, and this is no different. If we were just sitting back, and I think Adam, I think you would agree, if we were just sitting back, not taking notes, watching it, sure, there would be some things we might question, but not nearly to the extent. But that's
because your mind's turned off. You're just in for the ride. But when you're discussing it and you're reviewing it, not just recapping it, reviewing it, you see these things, they pop out at you, and then you're like, oh, wait, how did they do this? How does this out? You know.
I don't want to lose any views, but if that's not the show for you, you don't want to hear us joke back and forth and talk about stuff like that. I fully understand it. Maybe this just isn't the show for you. Again, I don't want to turn anyone off, but that's what we're gonna do, and it's all in good fun.
Yeah, we like this show. We like this show.
I won't sit through eight episodes of a show that I don't like unless it was just hilariously bad.
Mm-hmm.
I might, I guess.
Exactly, but it's like same thing when I do my game reviews and stuff on the site, and people are like, oh, you found this wrong, this and something. Well, yeah, I had to put time into it, and I found these issues. Don't you want to know the issues? I'd rather point these things out instead of someone saying, hey, you didn't tell me that it crashes when I go into this section. Oh, my bad. I didn't think you want to hear about that. I was like, whoa. It's the same thing.
Again, like when I do my toy reviews, it's like I'm going to show you something. If something's broken, if maybe something doesn't work, maybe you have to heat it up or whatever. That's the whole point of reviewers. You want to find somebody that you like. Now, again, we're not really reviewing the show as much as we're just recapping it and talking about it. But we're going to talk about some things that maybe just don't make that much sense. Like time has no bearing in this series.
Nope. But thankfully, that's not an issue in this final episode.
Well, there's one at the end, but not a major one.
Not as much. Yeah, but at least everything happens in one location during one time, and it's at night, and it's safe to say it all took place within one night.
Yeah.
But man, this was an episode. So again, we just want to get that out of the way. Either way, we're all on the same boat. We're all fans of the show. We love this show. And thanks for everyone that's been sticking with us. We have some other announcements that we're going to make about some of the other things we plan on covering. We're going to do the live stream next week, right? That's
next Sunday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
9 p.m.
Which is, we should probably know the date, right?
That would be
up right here. March 30th.
March 30th.
9 p.m. Right. Eastern Standard Time. And I'll just say it. This episode makes up for last week's.
Oh, yeah. And that's one of the things that we talked about. Last week's episode, and it's fair, a lot of people felt the same way. It felt like it was building up. There was a lot of talking, a lot of build up, but we knew it was building to something. We've watched
a lot of filler last week.
Yeah.
Where, again, kind of like episode 2. But episode 2, that made more sense because you got to set up the whole season. Last episode was kind of like, wow, you know what? We can't have a 7-episode season. Let's have a filler and make it 8, right?
And it did, and it left at a cliffhanger right before a big conflict, which we saw coming. So
Yeah.
they poof. Let's jump into it. We were here. The conflict begins. We find out it's a trap. This is what Reacher's telling Neagley or Francis. We want to throw all her names. She's like, "What do you mean, trap?" It's like, "This is it. We're here. We see this is why Beck was sent over there." Because it looks like Quinn was setting all this up. He knows something's going on, obviously, from when they had the ATF undercover agent working at Beck's home. So he set all this in motion. Gonna have the trucks over there.
Yeah, Quinn. It's like Quinn picks a set of people, and eventually he's going to wipe them all out and then move on to the next one. And that's what they're doing here with Beck. And if we were more savvy, we would have had Admiral Akbar yelling, "It's a trap!"
Right?
Yeah, we're not that savvy.
No,
but we do have Reacher with his sniper just sitting there taking out guys.
Right, yeah, takes a few shots, but then he's like, you know what? I need to get on the ground. Boots on the ground. He goes running down there, and it's chaos.
But this made me ask a question. Why doesn't the ATF have at least one sniper, if not multiple ones? Right?
My guess is that they weren't expecting a firefight like this. That's the only thing I can think of. They figured they had the upper hand. Remember? They thought they were ambushing.
I just feel like if the ATF is going in full guns, right? I mean, they're fully loaded. They'd have at least one sniper. Now, hey, maybe someone's in law enforcement. They can tell us. Maybe I'm way off and say, you know what, punk, you're an idiot. Go back to reviewing toys. I'm not going to. Well, I will, but I'll do this.
Well, the only thing I could do on my end, the way I saw it, was like they just weren't ready for that. They weren't ready for it at all because they thought, oh, we have the upper hand. They don't know we're watching them. We're scoping them out. We're going to go down there. We're going to bust them. Bada boom, bada bing. It's over. Yay, we win. No. All these soldiers come out. Quinn's guys come out, start shooting. We're seeing ATF agents drop like flies all over the place. It was wild. Hey, and even Reacher is going into full military mode. He's doing the frog walk. He is he goes down. He picks up a gun. He starts shooting off. I mean, it was a lot of action, a lot going on here.
Yeah, we get Reacher down there. Once the firefight starts, Susan Duffy, she tells Billy to get down there. They smash down there. We have Beck that's in the limo. He gets out. These ATF agents are getting wiped out, and then Susan, Billy, and Reacher are the only ones that can seem to kill the bad guys. These bad guys can just wipe out the ATF agents. The only person they can't kill is Beck.
And that's pretty interesting, too, because we find out once the smoke clears that all the ATF guys are dead. That was surprising. I wasn't expecting that. But, hey, I don't know how many showed up. But, yeah, they were all wiped out.
There was a good amount.
Yeah, there was a good amount. And there was a lot of action in that. But then they have to come up with a plan. Now first Beck comes and says, hey, I didn't know. Yeah. And I was here. And then that's when I don't recall if it was Duffy or Reacher, but they was like, yeah, I think it was Reacher. They probably wanted you down here to die, right? Because then that way Quinn takes control of the whole operation. It's like, okay, so then that's it. Now they were like, well, what do we have to do?
One person left.
Yes, that's right.
Why he hasn't notified Quinn yet, I have no idea.
Well, that was it. That's when he goes to notify. He was about to. What was it? The message he sent? He was like, he was about to send something, and then Reacher told him to send everything is good.
Yeah.
So something to go ahead, right? So then that's it. The next plan to get this in motion is, well, they're still expecting the trucks because this has all the goods in it. So they're like, all right, we're going to drive the trucks. We're going to go through. What about Paulie? Don't worry. Reacher was like, I'll deal with Paulie. He's got some payback.
We also have Neagley. She's there and she's scoping out the house because she knows now that, the whole what she was following wasn't. She was actually following the actual buyers, not where they were going. So she's scoping out the house. They have to get both semis there because they're expecting them there. One guy that's alive, one truck driver. The other one there isn't. Because as Reacher says, I killed him.
Killed him. Along with everybody else. And then Billy was like, I don't know how to drive this. It was my uncle because
Yeah,
Duffy starts cracking jokes. I thought you know how to drive. He's like, no, I was with my uncle who knew how to drive. I was like, I never said I knew how to drive, and it's hard driving one of those trucks.
Yeah, and they do pick up Neagley on the road, like everyone just on the side of the road, like.
Hey, how you doing? You want in? All right, why not? So, but the funny part is once they were getting to the checkpoint, which is Paulie. Now, Duffy was telling Billy, hey, just wave like we're supposed to be here, like whatever, and he does, and then Paulie lets him go through. But I was really hoping with Reacher that he would have like looked up like, hey, how you doing? And then just hit him with the door, and that's when the fight starts. Like what the hell is this? But he doesn't. They pull into like the left side of the house. It's a big open area. So they go and they park, and then out of nowhere, Paulie starts screaming at them, hey, what are you doing? You're supposed to be parking on the other side. And they're like, well, what do we do?
Well,
This is it.
remember, first they pulled in, and Reacher tells the truck driver, you better hope that I can find some rope to tie you up. And as he's coming, I think it was Susan that says, just tell the truck driver to play it safe. And he says, it's too late.
Too late for that. And I have no rope.
So, Richard, like, he's just a cool blooded killer.
Yeah. That's I mean, he gets things done. That's it. He's just trying to get things done. So then they come up with the new plan.
Which is, he says, I'll take care of Paulie. You guys go in and get Richard. And so, of course, as Paulie, like they sneak out, but Paulie doesn't see him because no one sees anyone on this grounds. All right, it's the greatest lighting, yet no one can see anything. As he opens, Paulie opens up. Truck driver falls out. He wonders what's going on, and Reacher starts trying to strangle him, which turns into a very long and brutal fight. And I said, I think I mentioned, I don't know if I mentioned it on the show, but I know I mentioned it to you. I was watching a short where Alan Richardson, he was talking about how physical it was, because basically you don't have two stuntmen that are their size, so they have to do all these fight scenes on their own. And he's like, we were sore and beat up, and after you watch it, you can see why.
It was wild. This was a wild fight scene. But right before, once he's choking him, it cuts real quick. We get to see what's happening in the house because we have three different parts going on here.
Yeah.
So we have Duffy, who is going to search the house to find Teresa. That's one part. We have Francis Neagley over there, who puts on Billy's shirt because it's a black and white tie fair type of thing. And it's like, all right, let me do this. I'll just take this tie here. And then I'm going to go in and disguise myself as a waiter to find out what's going on, where the buyers, where that situation is, right? And then we have Billy now just with his undershirt, and he's like, I'm gonna go. His wife beater.
It's a wife beater, right? I know.
I don't know any other term exactly, but that's what I'm saying. I don't know any other term for it. I always know it as wife beater.
I also didn't want to say wife beater because I know I've seen people go, I can't believe you said that.
I don't know.
What's the actual term for that type of shit?
I don't under tank top, whatever. He's stuck in that. So anyway, he says, I'm gonna go find Richard. So there you go. Those three operations are happening.
Well, Beck tells him where to go, and then here's a skeleton key. It opens every door. And like, come on, really?
Hey, it gets the job done, because that would be a question that people would want to know. How are you opening these up? Well, here it is. We got a skeleton. It's like, okay, thank you. There you go. The question solved. There we go. Now we know. But then the fight. Oh man, we were waiting for this. We talked about it once we saw the massive size of Paulie.
Yes.
And that, like, a first episode, we knew this was going to happen, and they did not disappoint. And this fight, man. In fact, let's just we'll cover the whole fight, and then we'll cover the house. So let's just cover the fight.
In real life, Paulie is like a foot taller than Alan Richardson, who is, I think, 6'3". I think Paulie
6'3", 7 something.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they made him look a little bit bigger too, but the fact this guy is just massive, and he's not tall and lanky like a basketball player. He is a thick guy that you go, I can't even imagine. I don't even understand how they can make people that big that can actually work out and not look like he looks proportionate to how big he is.
Well, even for the cameramen, that has to be tricky because they're trying to do over the shoulder shots. And that's when it makes Reacher look like a child, because when they do the over the shoulder for Paulie, it's like he's looking down. The camera has to point down. So that has to be like, oh, well, I guess I have to get on a crane for this, and then crane shot to do the over the shoulder because he's so massive. And yeah, when you see from his perspective, it's crazy.
But this fight scene is wonderful, and they are cutting back between the fight, but they give you a big chunk, and then they move over to the other one.
Yeah.
But I don't want to. I definitely do not want to skip over the mid card, which was Villy.
No. We're definitely gonna do the house. I'm just saying, let's cover the whole fight. Yeah. And then we'll cover what happened in the house because there was a lot of back and forth. That way, it's a little easier for people to follow. So, boom, they start brawling it out. They take it into the barn. They're throwing. What was it? I think it was right before that. Richard was grabbing a gun or something, and then Paulie, let's fight like men.
Yeah, he's trying to get the gun. He kicks it away. He says, "No, we settle this like men." Something like that.
And they were just wailing on each other. They started just doing exchanges. If I was Richard, I would just think, well, go for the leg. He's a big dude trying to take him down, but he was swinging for the fences. He was like, no, I want to knock this guy.
This is what I liked about it, is that we know Paulie is obviously bigger and stronger, but he still got hurt. He was like the same way that Richard, like, I cannot believe this guy is still coming, right? So they both were taking good shots. We saw Paulie getting hurt. It wasn't like that whole, one guy's taking all, and then it's like at the end he ends up taking. So I enjoyed that. But they do make it to the barn, and that's
I think he threw Richard through the window or something like that.
Yeah, because he hid behind the bag that he was showing Richard how to punch on.
Yeah.
And then he finally rips it off, and he hits Richard with it, and he goes flying into the barn.
Oh man. So yeah, that was wild. And again, people leave your comment if you know what this is. So they banged down. It looks like there was a second shelf with some stuff. I don't know what it was. Heavy bags. They get
thrown through a pillar, and then the not the attic, but whatever, the loft comes down on them. And at first I thought it was like bags of cement, but that'd be too heavy. That would have crushed both of them. So maybe it was fertilizer or something like that. Maybe. I mean, I don't know.
Maybe whatever they could use for the ground. Yeah. If you know what it is, go ahead. I mean, it doesn't matter too much, but we were just trying to understand weight wise. How heavy is this? Because it wasn't too much, because then Paulie gets up. We're like, oh, wait, where's Richard? Usually in these situations, it's the hero that gets up first, right? No, Paulie gets up. He grabs a chain. He wraps it around semi-unconscious Richard, his neck, starts cranking him, says, you know what? Now you're going to hang for this. And
he see how you like being.
Yeah, he starts hoisting. And I instantly start thinking, oh, man, Dominique. The same type of thing. I thought maybe they were going to throw some flashbacks, like of what Richard saw, but no.
But once again, as big as Paulie, you can see like he is using force to pull Richard, because this guy is just a massive guy. So I'm glad they didn't just make it like he just kind of like just wheeled him up really easily. He's like this is taking a lot out of him. He sees it. He realizes like this is probably the toughest guy I've ever fought in my life.
And think about this, as for a producer standpoint, if they're producing the show and putting this is probably the only time you can pull this off where it could be seen as believable, because Richard's such a massive man. Who is going to pull, unless it's like multiple people? But then you see this 7-something guy, massive, like, yeah, I could see him doing that. Yeah, it makes sense.
I remember in school we used to teach how you have a really big pulley system and how it gets lighter each time you add a pulley. Maybe it had the greatest pulley system that Richard did as a school project.
Maybe, but man, at that point, I'm like, oh, he's going to get out of this. Someone's going to come in. Nope. He then ties up the chain and just walks out. And he said some comment. I thought I wrote it down, but I guess not. But he said maybe hang around. He said something to the effect. It was like, that's it. All I know is that was wild to see Richard hanging there. And I'm like, all right, how's he going to get out? He's reaching for the chain that's hooked, trying to see if he can pull it. Can't do that. But he's a big dude. As we said, he's a heavy dude. So he hoists his body up and just starts pulling from the roof so that way he can break. Yeah, so he could break the anchor. Now, the concern I had here was like, well, the angle that they were showing, he was like head down. So if all that force, it just land on your neck, it's over. But didn't happen that way.
But it is called Richard, not Paulie. So
exactly, right.
If it was called Paulie, then maybe.
Oh man, if he dies, if Richard was to die, that would be unexpected. Very unexpected.
what if Reacher falls, he dies, and then it's like they start the show over, and it just says Paulie, like they did.
Shoot, no, he dies, and then leads into the spinoff for Neagley. There you go. What? Mind blown. No, we can't do that. There's plenty of more novels that we need to turn into shows. But anyway, great scene here, because just when you're like, all right, is he going to pull it off? We don't see him fall down and do the whole thing, but we see from the perspective of Paulie leaving the barn. We hear the noise. He pauses. You hear a bunk, boom. And then he looks back, and then you just see Reacher walking through. And I was waiting for him to say something like, "We're not done yet."
Yeah, and again, I love the fact that, like, when Paulie turns around, his face is like, "I cannot believe this guy is still coming." So it's not just one-sided like we see so many times. But the big guy is just like, he's winning to the small guy. It is a true back and forth. They're both surprised. And I definitely enjoyed this. And so here we have Reacher. He comes out, and he has one of those metal rakes. And he swings at him, and then he swings again and sticks it right into his leg.
Sticks it in his leg. They start brawling, and I didn't realize how close they were, but whatever. They go tumbling down the hill and end up in the ocean against the rocks.
And again, this is the same spot that I forget.
There were other bodies. They were dumb. It was Harley.
Harley.
Yeah,
Harley talks about how strong the current is. So the one thing that I can say is that Reacher did know how strong the current was. So during this fight scene, when they roll through, and there were other things we kind of forgot. Like we forgot Paulie breaking the shovel with his head.
Oh yeah, it was all during the fight. He broke the shovel, and that was a shocking moment. I thought he was going to stab Reacher with one of the sides.
Yeah,
I was like, oh man, this might break, but nope.
But they fall into which, if I remember correctly, didn't they walk uphill to get to it?
Yes, but this is a different.
How they rolled down into it.
This was I don't know, but I guess the point is that they wanted to throw the scene in, and the only concern I had with all this, and I kept thinking, was like, oh, they're going to with the current just keep smashing into the rocks.
Yeah,
right. But that didn't really play a factor in this fight. It was just these two just staying afloat and just slugging it out, trying to drown each other.
Which is, I think it was done so well, because to fight in the water, and again, I've never fought with someone in the water. So maybe if you're a Navy SEAL and you're like, oh, we fought, you can't really punch, right? You don't have a lot of force. So I thought there was a lot of action in that water. Paulie's like trying to drown him. He's on it. It's always something. And then finally we see Reacher throat punch him, and we see Paulie
just sink to the bottom. Looks like he's sinking. And just starts disappearing into the void. Yeah. And then after that, Reacher's back on the road. I guess they were further out.
Well, we know Reacher can swim, right? That's not
he's a swimmer. He is a swimmer. That's true. Michael Phelps style. But they were some distance away, because he's on the road walking back. And then, like a Michael Myers situation, off in the distance, we see, our boy Paulie coming out from the darkness there, just limping across. It's like, and the same thing. Reacher was like, I can't believe this. This is just.
Now, this is where I do question, okay? Because Paulie is limping pretty badly. Yet somehow he catches up to Reacher as they're running to get to the security guard, the security house.
So that's what was it. I don't know why. I thought with the cut, what they were trying to do is Reacher was trying to lure him, just get him into the house. Like, hey, we're going to fight in the checkpoint house, because if it goes into the house, that ruins everything for what's happening inside. So I think he was trying to keep the distance, and it was like, well, I can't just hobble my, Reacher head to the house and then have this big dude, because he's going to sound the alarm. All hell's going to break loose. So I think he purposely
a lot sooner.
But the way the cut was, it looked like he grabbed him right at the doorway. And then they just started brawling it out, and that was pretty brutal.
They do get some shots off for sure, which no one in the house hears. Which that's a big giant machine gun. How did no one else in the house hear that?
They were having pumping music. Everyone's
Oh, okay.
having a
Is that
good
what it
old time. Yeah, I gotta say they're all having a good old time, doing little dance.
is?
Make that. I mean, all the stuff you hear on a cruise ship, they were jiving and juving. We'll get into that, but yeah, they were fine. But man, they used everything in this control room. He grabbed
Yes.
the monitor, he smashed him over the head with it. The only part, and maybe you can answer this, that it happened so quick of how he reversed the bullet. So it
Okay.
looks like they're doing the brawl. He Paulie gets the upper hand, points the gun, and says, "I don't know why you picked a fight with me. I'm bigger. I'm stronger." Go ahead. You can say the rest of this if you know.
Well, he just tells I'm bigger, stronger, and then he shoots it, and you see his face explode. And then he says, "And dumber too." And then, thanks, Roman. And Roman said
Yep.
it too.
He agrees. He agrees. Yep.
I'm trying to think.
But he said, and then he said, "But I'm smarter," and he
Yeah.
reversed the bullet at some point. If that's how he said it, either that or the magazine. He did something.
He emptied he took the bullet out and he said, and he blocked the barrel.
That's it. Yeah, he took the bullet and blocked the
So
barrel.
somehow forced it to reverse.
I don't know. I mean, the action was fast.
But how it happened, that's I question that too, because he really didn't have time, especially with Paulie wouldn't have noticed, like, hey, you were messing with the bullet.
Yeah.
But either way,
it happened, and Paulie is dead.
There that ends Paulie. Yes.
We're done. We're done with Paulie. All right. So now let's get into the house. Now let's get into the fun part. So we'll start off with what's going on with Billy. So Billy is walking around because Beck gave him some crazy instructions, which I was like, I wouldn't be able to remember this. Go through here, go through that hallway.
Say that, like, really?
Yeah, I was like, go there. You got all that? Yeah, got it. I don't. Especially in the heat of the moment, it's a lot of info. But hey, whatever. So he goes around, and then a bathroom door opens, and
he's only his wife beater.
Right, he's in his wife beater, and then when the bathroom door opens, you see it's one of the goons.
He just looks at him.
Yeah, he just looks at him. And
he says, "Is this the bathroom that needs a plumber? And the plumber is this the bathroom?" And he kind of looks and goes, "Yeah, I didn't think you were going to buy it either." And pulls his gun out.
Pulls the gun out.
Walks him in the bathroom, gives him his set of instructions. Pull the gun out, and I like this.
Put it in the toilet.
Yeah, put it in the toilet, close and lid. I like this because it gives Billy he finally gets some real action here. And this is a really good undercard for Richard versus Paulie, right? They're both fighting back and forth. Paulie's like grabbing the guy's face, the guy's hitting. I mean,
what turned on that got him electrocuted? What was that? I heard it was like a buzzing sound. Was it?
It was an electric razor that was plugged in.
It was an electric razor.
Yeah.
I was like, I hear it.
Yeah, during the whole fight scene. Now, Richard's on his way up because he hears something. Because Richard's an idiot.
Yeah, the son.
Richard's an idiot. He comes up, and then the guy, during the fight, back and forth, he goes to get his gun, and Billy shoots the razor, turns it on, shoots the razor, and electrocutes the guy.
But then he hits him with the top of the toilet, the toilet lid, the toilet tank lid. He just cracks him with it.
Which, if you've ever removed one of those, they don't just break. All right, you're gonna crush someone's head before that thing breaks on it.
Yeah, those things are heavy. But it was a great scene because then once that whole fight scene was awesome. A lot of craziness going on. And you know what? This is one of those 50-50 moments because we've talked about it. We really didn't want Billy to die, but it's very possible he could have died. Yeah. It's very plausible too. That it's like, hey, does Billy die in this? Yeah, I guess he could. As long as Richard and Neagley don't, then everyone's fair game.
Exactly.
So it's definitely possible. But Richard then sneaks
up because no one cares.
Yeah, exactly. He comes upstairs. He hears all this commotion, and he sees both of them in the bathroom. And he's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, I'm here to rescue you.
Which it took me a second to remember that Richard knew who he was because of everything.
Mm-hmm. Well, thankfully, I guess it's for the best that he found out before. Because if not, what if he didn't believe him? Like, no, you're not. And he picks up the gun and he shoots him. It's like, oh, he was a crazy guy that came in here. You killed one of my dad's guards. And I was like, no, that was a cop. What? It could have been horrible. It changed the whole show story. Could have changed, but
So
yeah,
we get
that
so we get that during this. Neagley gets called out by a supervisor for wearing jeans,
mhm.
and then she flashes what we assume is Billy's badge because she took his shirt. It says that she's a
He's an
what,
undercover agent
undercover agent.
because one of the things that guy, whoever, if he was supervisor or not, he name dropped, I guess, the big boss. I forgot
Yeah,
the name, but he says, "Hey, did he let you do this?" And she says, "Come with me, let's talk." And he's like, I think
he did his cigarette.
yeah, he was like, "I think that guy's dirty, and there's some operation here, so you
He's
keep an eye
stealing.
on him." Yeah, he's stealing. You keep an eye on him, and you
And you
report to me
report back
after.
to me.
Yep, yep. You report back to me once everything is said and done. He's like, "Yes, okay, yeah, let's do this."
Like that could have been a comedy in itself. Someone like, oh yeah, like what was True Lies, where where he's like, I need you.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I,
Tell
I,
him
I,
what.
I need your help. And he's just a total BSer, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm a spy. They're everywhere. Oh really? Yeah, yeah. I can't even go near the window. Yeah, yeah. Oh man.
I
Did
gotta
you
go
ever
back and
watch
watch.
that show? Did you watch the show? They made a show.
I did not.
I did not either, but I know that it was one that was out there. I don't even know if it's still going, but it was
Oh
called True
wow.
Lies, and it's based off the. It's only like last year too. It's fairly new. I think it was a CBS or
Is it
something.
really that new?
Yeah, yeah, fairly new. But yeah. Now we could go into the next part. Now this is the part that I was not a fan of. The only part that I was not a fan of this whole episode, and it's only because it was Quinn's interaction with this boss leader, throwing air quotes, because I don't really. When we first meet the guy that was in the car, the Russian guy, remember he's like, I'm not the one you need to worry about. It's the
Yeah.
others. So we're assuming he is the second in command, and the big boss is there. The boss, that buyer, is at the house. This is the one that Neagley was following, and is meeting with Quinn. So I thought that was the big boss.
No,
But
that's just the guy that he's getting the money from.
that's just the guy. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So then that's what it was, because he says
Yeah.
Quinn is trying to get this deal done at this party. And he's like, hey, listen, I'm sorry for everything that happened, for the delays. I have a present for you upstairs. He shows a picture of Teresa. He's like, hey, she's up in the room.
Yeah. He had nothing to do with the Russians. He was buying. You remember that there was a setback. So this is the first time we're seeing him. He just needs to get the money to get
So
to the
he
Russians.
can give to the Russians.
Yes.
Okay. So it's
He
like
has
this whole
nothing to do with
exchange
it.
had to happen at this
Yeah,
point.
he's
Okay.
basically the middleman, right?
Middleman.
If
Yep. Yep.
you ever watched Office Space, the movie, he's the guy that eventually creates jump to conclusions. He's like,
Mhm.
I'm a people person. I take the designs
Yeah.
of one
Yeah.
person to another.
Take the other one.
That's all he's
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah, because all right, so then now is this whole thing, and he was like, "Oh yeah, all in due time." The guy says, "Hey,
Yeah.
I just want to party and this and this and that. We'll get to it." It's like, okay, but then of course all the other stuff started happening, and then we see them again, and the guy's hanging out playing pool, and Quinn jumps
Yeah.
up again into his face. It was like, "Hey, I'm glad you're having a good time, and you can keep doing this all you want all night, but let's make this deal.
Yeah.
Can we just do this?" And he was like, "All right, fine." But he's like, "Where's the other dude?" And he said, "Oh, he's with the president." He went upstairs to go see
Yeah.
the president, and he's like,
And,
"Oh, okay."
yeah. And while this is happening, Susan is going room to room. I'm glad that no one was up on any of these floors where Billy and Susan were. And so
And,
here we come, Susan Duffy. That's right. She
mhm,
finds Teresa finally. Now
mhm.
I don't know if I've said it on the show yet. I know I've said it. I am so tired of
Yeah.
Teresa. All right. I wish Teresa would have. I wish we would have found out Teresa was dead, just so I could stop listening to
Oh
Duffy whine and
man.
cry about Teresa. Oh my gosh, I'm so over it. All right, I'm sorry. I never wanted an innocent to die in a show so much.
It was, and I get the frustration, and a lot of people did get the frustration, because here it is. The show is pretty much, we want to see Reacher get vindication. Just go
Yeah,
after Quinn, pull Quinn down. That's enough for us. But they tacked on this other sub story here of got to go get Teresa and feel guilty. But we, as the audience, have no real connection with Teresa. Yeah,
no,
she's an innocent, this and that, but nothing really connects.
yeah. So we had we had connection to Cole because there's a whole episode that talks about it.
Yeah.
And Teresa is only there to bring Duffy and Reacher together, right?
Yeah.
Duffy, Billy, and Reacher together. That's the only purpose that Teresa is there for, right? But I'm just so I was so over the top of listening to Duffy, this and Teresa. I'm like, oh my god, I'm so tired of her. All right, if they just kill her off, then we won't have to deal with it anymore. All right, then they can just go
hey, Reacher. Hey, to be fair, Reacher was tired of it too. Remember? Because she's dead. She's dead. Stop it. Stop talking about it. She's dead. She's dead. So anyway, we're coming to the end of that because she finds her. She tries to wake her up. As we know, she's been drugged, but she sits up a little bit, and then we hear footsteps right out the door. Duffy hides in a closet. The dude comes in. He sees that she's all drugged up. He's like, I hope you're not too drugged up. I like a little fight. So he's just showing that he's really a piece of work, this guy. Like he's got his comeuppance. So don't feel bad for him if he did for some reason. Okay, there you go. So he drops.
Anyone felt bad for him.
Hey, you don't know. There's some crazy people out there. They're like,
that is true.
Yeah, so then he drops his trowels, he's getting ready, and then Duffy was like, she pulls out the gun, she's like, I'm gonna shoot you in the gonads.
She's like, if you like a little fight, you're gonna love me, something like that.
Yep. And I gotta give credit. I do have to give credit for this guy being real ballsy with a gun being pointed at his Jules there, because he's like, you shoot me, my guy's just gonna come in and either shoot you or shoot Teresa, and then it's just and I'll just take him out too. Yeah, well then all the other guys and all the Quinn's guys downstairs and this whole, he's already got this all planned out in his head, like, hey, you can't do anything. And she sort of pauses. Yep. So it's like, oh man, it's working. The mind games.
And so while this is happening, Reacher has made his way to the one of the barns where all the guns are, and he's opening up one after another. We see him find a load of M16s. Then he opens up another one and finds a shotgun. And let's be honest, the only reason why I put the shotgun is so it can make it look like the shotgun is as powerful as him every time he shoots someone.
And it does a big boom. That's the other thing, and he gets to hold it in a certain way, like, bah, bah, bah. So.
Yep. And then you have three guys that are going to check out. And then all of a sudden, they open up the door, and the guy says something, and boom, their Reacher ends up shooting two of them. The other guy's hiding behind the door. He shoots through the door. At this point is where Neagley hears them and realizes gunshots are going off. Although no one heard the big, giant machine gun. And I mean machine gun, not submachine gun or automatic rifle. Big, giant machine gun at the security gate.
That security house, that was reinforced steel. Soundproof. And again, we don't really know the full distance. They showed one angle, and it's like,
not that far.
It's not that far, but remember they were playing some really loud music.
It's a giant machine gun.
Yes. Well, whatever.
One that would be on the top of a tank. All right, or on the top of a Humvee. Either way, we've already decided that we've already established that there are some things that don't make sense. And
but the job gets done. You hear the noise, you hear the shooting, the guy reacts, and Duffy puts one in the head. No, in the groin. Sorry, she shoots him in the groin.
Then the other guy comes in. She does a weird tumble for no reason to shoot the other guy, and then
they escape. But then she shoots another person. She shoots a few people in the hallway.
Great, great shots. Just great shots.
She gets some good shots.
Now we find out she's a sniper.
That's it, exactly. And then Reacher over there. Well, the other thing, Reacher just blasted away.
He just comes in like guns are blazing with his shotgun.
Now people are panicking. They're running out the door. They're running all over the place. Now, if you recall, early on, this a few episodes back, when Reacher was talking to the maid, talking about Haggis, I think was her name, and they were talking. Right, Agnes, the cook or maid, whatever her role was. And she was talking about the people coming over and saying, oh, his friends, he doesn't have friends. These are going to be like politicians, all the rich people. Yeah. So this is going to be a huge deal, when this is all said and done. Also, just because I almost forgot, and I looked at my notes, I wrote this down, that when at one point, way before, just a backtrack, but it's just big information right here, big piece of information. When they were talking before about when Duffy and everybody was first planning to get into the house, so like, should we contact law enforcement?
Yeah.
She says they would be 40 minutes out. For those wondering, with all the shooting and all the craziness going on, where's law enforcement? Now you know. This location is so remote that it's 40 minutes. It's pretty much an hour away from where the local police station, which usually
Yeah.
means then there's no one else around. So they're very remote, which explains why we got kabooms and shootings and explosions and all this stuff and nothing happening in regards to law enforcement. So it was good that they
Which does
dropped
come in
that little bit.
play because it comes in play at the end of the show.
Yeah. So we get in there because after all the shooting, all the chaos, they go running after Quinn outside. All right, Richard does. And
No.
What? What we miss?
Quit. What when the
Oh
shooting
yes, my
starts,
bad. Oh yep, I was scrolling down
they
too
tell
fast.
Richard to get out because hey, you know what? Let's just let the little kid that we're trying to protect run out on his own.
Wait.
And of course, Quinn runs into him.
Yep, he runs into him and brings him into the office. Yep.
Takes him into his daddy's office where I said earlier that, hey, all those guns that are behind that case are going to come into play. Now, I thought they would come into more play, but this guy just smashes it out and then takes a box Uzi that is already loaded. Now, I'm not a gun aficionado, but there are other weapons I think that I would have taken up there rather than a gun you really don't get to aim with.
Yeah. That was pretty wild. But hey, Beck gets his moment. He goes into the office. He points his gun. Get off my son! I told you if you hurt my son. And he's pointing the gun and he's doing the whole thing. And he's screaming at him. And then Quinn like, oh, okay.
Quinn values his life. That is the one thing we are seeing. He values his life because even going all the way back to when he killed Cole and he was trying to talk Reacher out of it. Hey, I can get you money. I can get you whatever you want. He values his life more than anything.
And he does. And I was like, oh, well, how's he going to talk his way out of this? But he didn't have to because it turns out that gun that Beck is holding is the toy gun that his son bought from him. And that was the one that was broke that he had fixed. But I guess he didn't do a good job because it starts going limp.
Well, if you remember, there was foreshadowing that Richard said that it's going to take 24 hours for the epoxy to set. Now, again, I don't know what kind of epoxy you needed for a toy gun with a very lightweight plastic barrel. You probably could have used a little bit of super glue that would have, super glue never dries quickly when you actually have it on what you want it to glue, but when it hits your fingers, it's instant.
Yeah, that's how it works, man.
But the
use
barrel,
Gorilla Glue.
Yeah,
that's
the barrel. Like I got my super glue right here. I got my super glue right here. That's for fixing toys and shit. Yeah. But yeah, you have again the barrel, and then that's when he realizes. So Quinn picks up his gun and starts shooting back.
Oh man, does he ever? He just puts a bunch of holes.
Shoots him about 8 times. He unloads the gun on him.
Wait, that wasn't even with the Uzi. That was with a regular gun.
No, that was his actual actual gun because it was right there.
Yep.
And then Richard grabs the Uzi. He just sprays it. Misses everything. He might have hit his dad. Who knows? Holes in him. Who knows?
Yeah, it could have been one of those bullets.
So, Richard goes up to his dad. And then Beck has enough to tell his son. Now, mind you, throughout this whole series, people get shot once and they die. Beck got shot like 8 times in the chest. All right. This is, if you've ever watched The Naked Gun, this is like Nordberg. He got shot 35 times. They missed all the vital organs. All right.
You know what, though? I thought he was going to live because I thought at that point we were going to see that he had a bulletproof vest on. I mean, he knows things are going to get hairy right now. I figured, he planned ahead. This is a guy who, like you just pointed out, has a bunch of guns in his house, right? But you would think, wow, this is going to get a little crazy. Let me put on a vest just in case.
It seems like he would have had guns elsewhere, just other than just there. It's not like he had little kids running around or anything. It was just his son. So you think he would have hidden guns elsewhere, knowing that there. But again, that's thinking too much. So Beck gives his son a couple words of, I wish you just could have seen this sooner. And again, it was kind of an anticlimactic death in all honesty. But unfortunately, we do get to see him pass on to the.
He goes to Valhalla. That's it.
Yeah, I don't know if that's
Oh,
where I don't know if that's where he's going. All right.
yeah, he was a bad guy. Remember that, people. He
He
wasn't
was.
just selling rugs.
Just
He
because you
was a gun
redeem
runner.
yourself at the end, like
Mhm.
he wasn't a really good guy. You know, like I think Reacher said, like, how about don't sell guns, right?
Yeah, that's what he said. What else was I supposed to do?
Not sell guns, you know, like.
Go legit? How dare you? I'm not a
You know,
common
I'm gonna go
man.
tell my dad how awful he was. Why didn't you just sell guns, Dad? You could have been a better dad to me.
Right? Exactly.
Um,
So that at this point, now this is it, where Beck goes running out. Quinn, sorry, he goes running out and
Yeah.
reaches after him, and then we see the Russians, and they all show up with the cars and stuff, and they grab him.
Yep, they grab him, and then he basically tells them what he's going to do to him. You know, and then Reacher comes out with his shotgun, speaking Russian because he does speak many languages, and this was established a long time ago. So it's not like, oh, he just happened to know.
No,
it's established that he's very smart.
Yeah.
He's very
he traveled
smart.
a lot. Remember, he was an army brat. It was his dad and the whole thing, and yep. So, but he also likes everybody to know his name. To let them know who they're dealing with. It's Reacher.
Yeah, which I mean, I guess I could understand in the military, like you need to get something done. I don't think you want. Well, I guess he has no family, so he doesn't have to worry about anyone coming after him.
Yeah,
going after. But he does like to tell everyone who he is.
I'm telling you, he's
got. I don't even think he ever says Jack Reacher. I don't think he ever says his first name.
No, he keeps it very formal. That's it. Yeah. Oh, this is Reacher.
Yeah. So we see him, and they're like, "Oh, you have one gun. We have lots of guns." And then you hear Susan come in.
Billy shows up on one side.
Yeah. Two, and then there's a third one, and they're like, "Okay."
Where's Teresa? And it's crazy. It's Teresa. Okay, I got her. She's safe. Is she really safe? She's in the bush right next to you during what's about to be a shootout.
Which he says, "Where's Teresa? She's safe, and she's hiding behind the bushes." And I said to you, I go, "You're hiding behind the bushes that are going to stop all the bullets."
Yeah. No, should have left her in the house. I'm just saying.
I almost got my wish to see Teresa get wiped off.
Oh, she would have jumped out.
And then he's basically saying, well, he
owes us money and the whole thing. It's like, and then that's when Neagley comes out with the bag of money and all. It's like, I got the money. It's like, all right, give us the money. It's like, no, you give us Quinn, and then we'll give you the money.
And then there's this.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
And this is the most awkward thing that I've seen. She's holding the grenade, and it is a pineapple grenade. This is not a real grenade anymore.
We all have grenades on this show. Yeah, you know that. Well,
that's my grenade right there. That's a punk with toy grenade.
This
is an actual pineapple grenade for whatever. Not a real one. Yeah. Just so YouTube
we're showing exactly. Someone's gonna freeze frame this and send it to YouTube. These guys are talking about grenades.
Yeah, this is the same as Neagley. This was used as a paperweight. It's shocker. It's kind of like mine. But she's holding it like this. It really bothered me. I'm like, she pulls the pin. She's going to drop it in the bag.
And then say that we all go. That's it. Nobody.
And then they're like, you know what? We only need the money. Mm-hmm. So he takes the money. Boom, they leave. And now there is Quinn standing in front of Reacher. Susan says something. No, first... Yes. Billy says he has something he has to go do, so he leaves. Susan says, "Hey, it's called in. It's going to take a few minutes, but And then Neagley's just like, "Boss, do what you need to do." Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's like the only one that's fully on board. Like,
because she knows him.
Yeah, she's no different. They were in the military together. They obviously did covert operations, so she walks away.
And this was it. This was the big one because he still doesn't remember.
Yeah, and Richard says, you don't remember me.
Yeah, because he keeps trying to say we could work a deal. I was like, what? No. And then he says, Dominique. He says it, and then we get these flashes, and I'm assuming that's within Quinn's mind. Like once he says the name, that triggers. And we see all that stuff. And then he says, all right, now you remember me.
So I like the fact that they did They did shore up that thing that we were asking. Does he really not remember? And he truly did not remember. Still doesn't change the fact that he remembered everything else that he did. It's not like he got shot and he woke up and remembered or thought, hey, I was this awesome stockbroker. No, he still remembered all the awful things he did. He just couldn't remember the guy that shot him.
I remember that. Yeah.
I like this because they don't show up close. They are panned back on top of the house, far shot. You see Reacher shoot him. He just drops. Yeah. I like that more than some. I didn't even see a close-up shot. Mm-hmm. We got to see the whole thing. Again, Reacher is just straight up just he has no problem. Like that's.
And then, there we go. Now, the interesting part with this is that now I guess this happened all night because then it's now daylight and we have I get it. We got to take it in that it was an all night affair. Now the police show up. I think ATF got involved too because Reacher starts talking to Duffy. What's going on with all this stuff? It's just asking questions. Yeah. ATF, they lost a lot of agents during that. She says, we clear things up. They're understanding what's happening, but it looks like my time's done with the DEA.
Yeah. Well, she would not have gotten fired that quickly, but whatever. Yeah. And she also said that, hey, we just said that, the Russian mob did it.
Yeah. Said the Russian mob, and hey, I hired you guys on as which one?
Consultants.
Consultants. There you go. Consultants because you were familiar with certain people in this operation, but that was it. So everything is good. You and Neagley are good, clear to go. That sounds good. Okay. But the crazy part, and this is funny, she breaks out with him. She breaks out with him.
Oh yeah, it is. Is it that point? Yeah.
Yeah, it's that point. Yeah, it's that point because then she says, hey, now that this is all done, I know things got a little, interesting with us, and I wouldn't mind doing this again in the barn, but I don't like to be tied down. In so many words, she just said, it's like, yeah, we're done.
Yeah.
And he's like, wow, that's usually what I say. She was like, oh, you're such a throwback. My grandfather would have loved you type of thing. Gives him a kiss. And
so now we're about to come up to a few things that someone's going to get mad at me and say, just sit back and enjoy it. It's like me talking to my son when we go see a movie. I'm like, just why can't you watch it and enjoy it? Now people are going to do it to me, and, I'm on the other side. He goes and talks to Neagley, and she tells him that, did you do it? No, she basically told me. Now, this is where we see Reacher. Now he's talking to Richard, basically saying, they're going to seize everything, so take any cash in here. Now, I would assume that they've already said, you're not taking anything out of here, but it doesn't fit the story. At the same time, we have Duffy and Billy taking the badge of who was the guy that got killed?
That was Elliot? I think that was
Elliot. Elliot to his parents' house. Who his dad didn't even seem to care. Like he didn't have any emotion in his.
Well, we go into a montage. This whole thing after that, we get into the whole montage, like you said. It's like,
but it's still happening at this time. They're still back at. Richard hasn't even washed his face yet.
Well, now that's the only part that throws me off because when people are like, oh, just sit back, like you said, they don't watch it, and that's fine. It's just like you said though, Reacher still looks dirty and everything, like it still happened. So we have to assume that this was just a montage of a time jump because there's a lot that happens in this.
This should have just been at the end. Like they should have showed that the ending scene should have been Billy and Duffy returning to Elliot's parents' house to hand the badge. That's how it should have ended.
Yeah. But they go a step further with all that because then we got Billy brings flowers.
Oh, but we also have Richard give basically a fatherly advice to Richard, and then we see Richard getting a whole bunch of cash that again the ATF isn't paying attention to. We see Richard is he's in the barn with all the guns, and like no ATF is like, hey, who the hell are you? Why are you in here? And he sees a big Harley, and he just pushes it out. And they're just going to let him take it. No one says anything. He sees Richard, basically says, hey, you know what? Boom, he takes off. We see Billy show up to his house. And I'm so glad Billy survived. He deserved this.
That was
a major redemption story. Elliot, sorry, dude.
Yeah, it was pretty sad. He's gone. But yeah, we saw Billy makes it out. He's home. We also see Duffy bring Teresa to
Oh yeah,
grandma,
don't want to
and
forget that.
yeah, gotta forget that's it. It's done.
You can't stand
Duffy's
the
story's
swimming. I
done.
can't stand Teresa.
See, those are the two, but you know what? Their old parts are done. Yay, they're done. But yeah, again, just because they show that one scene, just to go back a little bit, where all the ATF or whatever, there are all these agents are running around the compound, obviously dealing with everything that's happening there. But then right at the end, it's like everyone disappeared because we see Richard take the bag of money, does that. We see Richard just drive off with a motorcycle and with
Richard
jacket.
takes off in an Audi. Like they'd be like,
Yeah,
no one is taking shit from here. Sorry, but no one's taking anything from here. Right? They don't. Again, I'm not part of law enforcement. If you're part of ATF, if you're part of the FBI,
yeah.
please tell me. Would you just let someone? Then again, I understand suspensive reality or
No, I get it. It was if you just think back, like, oh, whatever, it was fun. I get what they were going for. That montage, they wanted to wrap it up, and everything was nice and neat. But then, maybe they shouldn't have had all the ATF guys already running around. Save that part.
yes,
Save that part afterwards, or don't even bother showing that part. We already know that Duffy called it in. Just be like, yeah, they're still on the way. Don't
maybe
worry.
show them
Get out of
everyone
here.
leaving. Yeah, leaving
Oh,
before then.
pull an A team. You gotta go before they
Yep.
show up. And there
Yeah.
we go. So
You
let's make
easily
believe that's
could
how it
have
happened. That's how it happened in my
easily could have
mind.
had Reacher talking to Richard and saying, "Hey, they're gonna be here in 40 minutes. Get any cash in here and get out of here." And then see him like talking to Neagley. She's getting in her car. He sees this motorcycle. He takes off. And then you just have, Duffy and Billy talking to ATF agents. And then roll into her taking Teresa home. Billy going to see his wife. I just think that there could have been a better order. Again, it's a minor thing.
Yeah,
It's
minor
at
thing.
the end. But that's
Yep.
what we do here.
That's it.
Now,
And what we were hoping for, we didn't get. And we were hoping for at the
Teresa
end.
dying?
No, whoa. Right.
I'm really on that one,
That's
all right?
no way. Maybe that'll happen in the next one in
Maybe. I
the
got
spinoff.
I got old, guys.
Because then I'm sure maybe she has a whole new fan base, and we're like, we want more Teresa. We want more Teresa. And they're like, all right, we'll bring her back for the spinoff. Well, that's what we were hoping for. I was hoping that at the end they would do some kind of tie-in with Neagley spinoff, that we would see her
Yep.
get a call or something, or there'll be some other thing like, oh, maybe
There's
Richard's saying, all
nothing.
right, so where are you gonna go? It's like, well, I have another thing I have to go to work on that I stepped away from this, and then but it's still early in development, so maybe they haven't even flushed that out.
So
But hey,
what
we know what's happening.
what if that gets added in on the non-screener? We should probably watch that.
Yeah. You know what? That's a good question.
Scroll through it before we go live on Sunday night.
Yeah.
And find out. And people are like, "You idiots!"
They could have.
You
That's
missed
very,
this.
very possible. Because for those who don't know, I also cover The Walking Dead on this channel with I Am Negan, and we've had that happen where we'll cover the last episode and then they'll post like, "Oh, stay tuned for a sneak peek of the next season," or
Which would make sense.
and that was not part of what we saw. And so everyone was like, "Hey, you didn't tell us about Daryl's new show," and this and that. Like, what are you talking about? And they did a sneak peek. They did a sneak peek.
This weekend. This is coming out Thursday. We are doing this live on Thursday. Our homework is to at least scroll through the last episode and see if maybe something was thrown in, and then we can discuss it then. There is one thing, and maybe it gets thrown in that we didn't know about. The warrant officer that was held captive. We never find out what happened to him because they sent armed soldiers there. The one that Richard originally talked to. We don't find out if he survived.
Yeah.
That's a loose end that I really wish they would have like.
Oh wow, that's right. I'm assuming he was dead. Yeah, did they gut him? I'm assuming they did, but yeah, you're right. We didn't.
No time frame because there's no time reference of when Richard talks to his fill-in to say send over multiple armed guards. What time was that? Did they get there in time? You would hope that they did because all this guy did was his job.
Yeah, they never brought it up. You're right. That's what said right there.
And they showed what he was about to do. They do kind of leave it where it seems like they were able to. If not, they were able. they gutted him before they
Hmm.
got there. But we don't know for sure.
I just hope this isn't a trend. We saw Adolescence. We watched that, and a lot of open ended with only 4 episodes, and that's done. And we're like, hey, did he go to jail? Did they win? Did they go to trial? We'll never know. They never bring
That
in
was
more
a
of those.
very interesting. If you haven't watched Adolescence, it's a foreign show.
British show. It's got the one guy that the father. He stood out because I know him from Boardwalk Empires. He played Al Capone in that one, and that's when so I always remember him. I was like, oh, it's Al Capone. And then the cop, the main cop that was with his son Adam, right? That guy, I know him from Top Boy. So it's a UK show. It's really good. But man, that third, I think was it was it the second episode or the third? It was it was the third episode with the school. No, second episode with the school. That drone shot that they pulled. Man, when we follow the son when he gets caught, and then the drone takes off, goes across and lowers to where the father is at, like the with the flowers and all that stuff for the dead girl. Oh, that was amazing. Great camera work.
Dude, I want to talk about that now.
You see that? Oh.
I just want to say, like, if you haven't watched Adolescence, and especially if you have kids, preteens, maybe early teenagers, it's a hard watch as a father. I don't know how it was for you.
It was rough. It's particularly the school scene, because I'm like, these kids are rotten. All those kids are horrible. I'm like, is this like something especially for like bad kids? I mean, everybody was bad. You got people getting punched in the face in the school. You got people screaming.
There was one kid that laughed. You got beat up by. I'm like, dude, you would get your ass beat.
Yeah, how could you say that? They're cursing at the teachers. They're setting off fire alarms while the police are in the building, and they know. And they say, "Oh man, we could go on a rant about that." But hey, if you've watched that show, go ahead, leave in a comment. Bring that, because we'll talk a little bit about that also during the live. Why not? But man, this was good. We loved doing this. Reacher was great. We know that they have the spinoff. We'll be back hopefully for that when that happens.
Oh, we'll be back. Reacher. They give it to us.
Yeah, exactly. Once we go in, there's plenty of other shows that we just talked about. Adolescence. There are a bunch of 1923 is something we're thinking about covering, at least toward the finale of that, because that's going on. Another show we're watching. We're looking forward to we were just talking about where Billy Bob Thornton, Landman. That's already been confirmed. There's a season 2 of that. That's another fantastic show. Oh man, The Bondsman. Right.
Yeah, that's one we talked about covering. It comes out on the 3rd, and it looks like all the episodes drop, so we won't have time to. Unfortunately,
there's just so much out there.
So we are looking. If you guys enjoy watching us, please tell us in the comment. Hit that like button. We are looking for another show that we can do this before the Neagley episode.
Throw in some ideas, people.
Yeah, but it's got to be something that we can see. That's the biggest. Again, we want it to be a weekly show. We don't want to do like hey, let's do 8 episodes and drop them all at once, because it's a Netflix thing where they show everything.
Oh yeah, I don't, and I never like to binge, not even because of this type of format of covering, but just I don't have the time. With work, kids, life, it's very hard to just sit down and just watch all of it.
I love binging. I think it's great for me, but I think for a TV show, for a network, it doesn't make any sense. I think what is smart is what Amazon normally does. Same with Disney Plus. They drop like 2 or 3 episodes, and then they've got you. They give you a whole bunch, and then you have to wait each week.
We'll see. We'll see what's coming out. I think there's some other stuff coming also for HBO Max. We'll figure some more. Now it's just Max. I still don't get that. HBO is a bigger name for me. Why are you doing that? But anyway, thanks again, people, following. If you're still subscribed, stay subscribed, because we got some other plans for things that are coming. And we'll see you then. So thanks again, everybody, for tuning in and checking us out on Spotify, iTunes, Apple, Amazon, you name it, wherever we're. Thank you.
This Sunday, 9 p.m. Eastern.
Yes.
That's where we're going to go live. You guys can actually jump in the comments. Tell us how great we were, how bad we were, what we missed, how they let 2 yahoos do YouTube, and how why can't I have a show? Everyone can have a show.
That's it. Everybody gets a show. You get a show. Yeah. Timmy gets one. Everybody. All right.
We have one every Monday. It's crazy.
All right, everybody. Have a good one.
Have a great night. Thank you.